What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker. This is the Awesome broadcast coming to you live from cold but somewhat sunny, maybe a little gloomy, 66 degrees but chilly, California, Los Angeles, and Stolen Land. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs, I hope everyone's having a fantastic one, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker. One of the things that I'm also noticing that I think is good, a lot of liberals who also leaned into the Republican insanity over immigration are now turning around and saying like, fuck ICE, melt ICE, all this stuff. They're getting more radical by the day, and that's a good thing. But that was another aspect of my back and forth commentary, which is something that I've seen liberals engage in, at least like liberals that are hyper online, who want to talk like they've been here from the start. And I have no problem with that. Once again, if you have realized, if you finally had a wake-up call and you recognize right from wrong, and now you're actually willing to go out and protest, I'm totally on board. I love that. But don't try to punish people who have been there from the start. Don't try to fucking rewrite history. Don't try to act as though we were the dangerous radicals and that we actually played a role in what's taking place here. When in fact, the administration, the Democratic Party, played a role in normalizing this kind of violence by refusing to counter message against it. And there was someone who was correctly saying that this would inevitably lead to exactly what's going on. And that person was people like myself. It is not lost on me that there are a lot of people who are trying to act as though they were here all along. You know what I mean? Will Stansel is personally tracking ICE agents around Minneapolis in his Honda Fit. That boy is just built different. I'm just saying, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly happy with that. This is not about like I was right and you were wrong or anything. It doesn't matter to me that much. What does matter to me, however, is that if you don't identify why you were wrong initially, quietly, if you don't identify what led you to believe that the Democrats were operating with the best possible agenda in the election cycle that actually did not offer any counter message to this like unlimited racist bullshit towards migrants, and how that normalized in the eyes of a lot of Americans this kind of violence that was inevitably going to take place, you will fall for it again. Same goes for, supporting the current war, but not the previous ones, supporting all the previous civil rights movements, but not the current one. You can't do that. Like I see stuff like this. I don't know who this guy is. I've only seen some of his stuff before, like shitting on me over Israel and whatnot. And I've been finding myself liking people like this and their takes a lot more, because there is this like real unification taking place, at least against the Republicans, right? I said, am I crazy or are you normal now? He said, Hassan, you're normal as being a tanky boot slurp. I have been a liberal this entire time. And I said, okay, I'll give it a few more months before you hate the right as much as I do. Check back soon. This guy was retweeted by Destiny when he responded to you. Yeah, I don't really care about all that stuff, obviously, because I don't think these guys have ever had like a real constituency in the real world. But what I find really strange is, stuff like this. It's incredible how for the last several years, those of us who have tried to build a community of liberal democratic online commentary had to constantly face off commies trying to either subvert what we do or drive us off the internet more so than any far-right assholes. I said, I don't know any of you at all, but if you spend most of your time left bashing and signaling to the right how moderate you are, it's not strange to assume you like reactionaries. So it's either time to unite or still complain about the left when the left hasn't changed gears. What the fuck did he call you? I'm too old for that one. He just said I'm a tanky. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. He's saying that I just like authoritarian leftist movements or something. I don't know, whatever his fucking worldview is. Now, once again, this is not about like, oh, you need to be held accountable. You need to be held accountable. I am much more open-minded than many of my counterparts are on the left in terms of welcoming people with open arms when they actually recognize the errors of their past ways, right? But what's actually frustrating is like if you are still talking about the tanky threat when the fascist Gestapo is literally knocking on people's doors, then you're objectively not dialed in to exactly what's going on. Like you don't understand it. You don't understand what you're saying. You're still trying to find this like weird moderation not realizing that that weird moderation that you're desperately trying to signal is unironically just normalizing the right. Hasan, is it possible for you to conceive that people might dislike the right and also dislike the left? In fact, for very similar reasons. Austinox responds, is it possible for you to conceive that conflating open fascism with the people flirting against fascism as being very similar is a dumbass opinion people should mock you for? Name the reasons and let's see. My God, is Hasan so thin-skinned that he's now sending his editors to whine at us? Yeah, I sent my editor. That's what I did. I was like, Austinox, please defend me. What's frustrating about this kind of stuff is if you don't have the solid fundamentals in your analysis on how we arrived at the current ever-present danger that we're facing, as far as America turning into a complete fascist dictatorship, okay? Because it is at our doorstep. We're already in the waters of fascism, but it hasn't turned into like a full authoritarian, I guess, fascist movement. Like the courts are still there to a certain degree. You know, there is still like a little bit of ticker tape holding this entire thing together. My point always is like, you guys have to, at a certain point, you don't have to like say it out loud, right? Well, you have to go back and really reconsider what your first principles are and how you arrived at like the wrong conclusions initially until it was slamming you in the fucking face. Yeah, these liberals just see the tide turning, so they're trying to infiltrate these already established movements so they can control it. I know, and it's ironic because they think we are doing that. Like the attitude that I'm seeing from people like this is very strange. Like they make it seem as though the left is actually trying to take advantage of this tide shift, as though we haven't been at the forefront of this tide shift, especially even against the Democrats at certain points. And that's what's so frustrating about this is like, this is not productive in general. This is an opportunity for you guys to go, hey, you know what? Let's let bygones be bygones. I'm the one who's being nice. I'm not the one who's being vindictive here when I should be vindictive. I should openly treat you as a fucking enemy, right? Ultra leftists are just annoying while the far right is killing people and destroying democratic institutions. Exactly. This has always been my principle, and that's precisely the reason why I have maintained the position that I don't left bash in general. At most, I make jokes about it, whether it be anarchists or, you know, ultras of all different sorts and varieties, but I don't spend a good deal of time shitting on the left or shitting on the people further to my left, or at least in the way that they present themselves, because I understand that they don't necessarily have any power whatsoever. And not only do they not have any power whatsoever, they are directionally moving the conversation in the appropriate direction. I don't understand it. I don't understand that these guys cannot, like, liberals have no capacity to fucking read the room whatsoever. And what they fail to comprehend is liberalism failed in the 20s, okay? And I don't mean 2020s. I mean 1920s. And that failure of liberalism brought about, you know, at the time considered a revolutionary movement that was actually counter-revolutionary, fascist movements in Europe, right? In many other parts of the European continent. The death of liberalism came with organized fascist movements. And the death of liberalism elsewhere was rung in by, or at least like czarist monarchy was brought in by socialism and communism. The problem is liberalism is dying once again. And I think a lot of liberals, instead of recognizing that and then figuring out which side of this equation that they're on, they're still holding on to this notion that, like, no, actually liberalism is not dying. And that's very stupid. What are people pivoting to instead of liberalism, Bubba? Right now, I don't think the liberals are really pivoting, at least openly. They're not recognizing that there are alternatives out there. And that's one of the saddest parts about this, is because, like, there is no further left position that is commonly held and popular. So a lot of people don't realize that there is an entirely separate world out there, socialism and even social democracy, really, if you want to fucking entertain that. Can we talk about why everyone is so far left and right? Why is it so hard to find or hold common ground? I mean, I'll give you one example of this, right? Here, this is a podcast called The Necessary Conversation. These two podcasters talk to their mom and dad that are Trump supporters. Let's take a look.
No, it's because you're in a cult.
What if Donald Trump says, I want you to carpet bomb Oklahoma City, everyone? You think the Air Force should carry that out?
Yes.
There might be a reason. We don't know.
This is insane.
You cannot be this stupid. Jesus Christ.
Oh, my. This podcast was going well until that.
You just said it's cool. We levels Oklahoma. You're like, yeah, it. There must be a reason. Like, you literally can't be that dumb.
You know what the problem is? Mom and I don't believe he'll ever blow up Oklahoma because we're on his side and so's the whole state.
No, it's because you're in a cult.
You guys are worried and afraid because you live in a state where it might happen.
I think people that like my first inclination that this because of how fucking freakish this commentary is that it's rage bait and it's fake, right? And as far as I understand, I mean, I'm going to interview these guys at a later date, okay, to try to get a better assessment on if it's scripted or if it's like exaggerated or not. But I will just say that at least talking to people that I know that do have MAGA parents, conversations such as this one do take place at the dinner table or, you know, during Thanksgiving, like not dissimilar to the one that you are going to hear. Now, first he says, oh, he's not going to bomb Oklahoma, but you guys are afraid because he might bomb California. So he shifts gears. Listen.
Okay, let's theoretically say that does happen. Let's say Trump sends in the Marines to Los Angeles, California. And let's say I'm out going to see a movie on a weekend, and he says, go into that shopping mall.
Under a truck.
Quiet piggy. He says, go into that shopping mall and kill everyone you see. And let's say I get gunned down by the Marines for just being at a mall.
Okay, number one,
All for
let's just take
Okay,
it
Dad,
one step
wait a minute,
further.
Mom, wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Dad,
wait.
hang on, Mom. Dad, you just said you are for Donald Trump murdering me for no reason, and you would support that.
If he walks into a mall to people with military,
There has to be a reason.
there's a reason. And I'm all for it. And the people in Los Angeles, California are as deserving of execution as the assholes in New York City. You're all communists.
Chatters with immediate family members that are deeply invested in the MAGA cult can maybe attest to this. More and more people are saying things like this in the countryside, in the rural areas, in places where Donald Trump has made a lasting impact. And what is really funny is for those of you who don't know this podcast at all, they go, did he just say mom and dad? And the answer is yes. To which I repeated, I don't think we can live normally in a country where 20% of the population operates like this. We need cult deprogramming. And if you recall, the last time I talked about this was once again, where liberals got so mad at me for saying that we need some kind of fucking deprogramming and education for people. They said, oh, you want re-education camps. Now I'm seeing more and more people who previously were liberal or liberal adjacent also coming to that reality, coming to that recognition. I'm seeing it more and more often. More and more often, I'm seeing people go, oh, I kind of understand why there is a necessity for some kind of education procedure, because this cult, if left to its own devices, is not exactly tenable with having a nation state. Like, you can't really have a country if 20% of the population straight up thinks like, yeah, no, all the fucking commies deserve it, including my own children. I don't even think re-education camps would work for those kinds of people. What do you do with that kind of hog? You just really hammer it over and over again that this kind of sentiment is completely inconsistent with the shared values that we're supposed to maintain as a nation state. That's all you got to do, and hope for the best. You can't save everybody, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to save as many people as possible. This is a byproduct of creating a malleable population, because they are not educated, because you paywalled education, because all the K through 12 education is paywalled, or not paywalled necessarily, but the public schooling system is completely in a dire state of disrepair. There is a massive class disparity in educational attainment and educational outcomes in general. And that creates an environment of, servants of empire, an environment where there's a lot of people who are just not very intelligent, and people who are stupid are malleable. They're easy to manipulate. But when it gets to a certain point where you have 20% of the population that is so firmly invested in the MAGA cult, that is at the mercy, at the whims of one madman like Donald Trump, who has time and time again shown that he will do whatever the fuck he wants to do, no matter what the repercussions are. Even if the repercussions of his actions are directly impacting people like that, directly impacting people in the MAGA cult, you have to do something about it. And I think a lot of liberals end up coming to the conversation with this honest assessment where they think, no, like there has to be some kind of back and forth here where we can just find a reasonable middle ground. as the middle ground shifts further and further right from under their legs every single fucking day. Someone needs to pull at least the middle ground back to the actual center. And that's never going to happen unless you have more overt, openly leftist people in positions of prominence actively speaking about this shit.